is you can either you can do one of two things next. So one thing is you can develop on something known as the master branch itself, which is like the default branch of most repositories, or you can create a new branch called by the name of your feature. That you can do that by running this command git checkout -b to create a new branch, and then feature name. So since my fix is relatively small, I won't be creating a new branch. So, but if you want to create one, you can do git checkout -b case feature case sensitive, since that's the name of the issue that I'll be working on. So, and then after you're done creating, then you can work on that branch itself. So next thing is to actually work on the changes. So what is required? This issue, the changes required in this issue is the parameter that is passed to the CLI, that is for the B flag specifically, should be case insensitive. So Firefox should be, it shouldn't matter if it's small f or capital F. So that's the fix that needs to be done. So what you can do is, usually if this is a CLI related feature, as mentioned here, CLI, what you can do is you can either go to the source code directly, and as you can see, there's a CLI.py. So intuitively, I would guess that change needs to be made here. So this is easy to figure out. But then if it's something relatively more difficult to figure out, you can always comment on the issues page, and the maintainer will guide you as to how you should go about it. So I'll do that, because I'm not sure if I should do that, if I should make that change there. What's the other way around? And then usually in real open source projects, once you ask such a doubt, since the maintainers are actually very busy and they have other stuff to do, it takes quite a lot of time for them to get back to you. So on an average, it might even take like 2 to 3 days. So, okay, so now that I have confirmation, I can sort of go ahead with looking at what I can change there. So, yeah. And always just make sure that you are on the right branch that you want to develop on. So if I do git status, I get master. And since I don't, since my terminal is just a vanilla setup, nothing fancy, it's not ZSS or anything, it doesn't show me the branch that I'm currently on by default. So it's always recommended to just verify what development branch you're on. So I wanted to develop on master, and I am on the master branch. So that's a good thing. So that's a good thing, and I can go ahead with it. So over here, this is the parser that makes the CLI, and browser is this, and it seems to be extracting that argument here, args.browser, and we need to make this case insensitive. So meaning that all letters except for the first one have to be small, and the first letter has to be capitalized. So, and just to verify, the browser names are like Chrome, like first C is capital, Chromium C is capital, Firefox F is capital, Safari S is capital, and so on. So what I can do is I can just do I can just do capitalize. I think that should work. If you're not sure, then you can do I give Firefox, and if I do browser, yeah, that sort of works, and it's not in place. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's not in place, so that should work ideally. Okay, so I think that change should do, that should fix it. So if I'm confident with that, what are the next things that I should do? So one very important thing while contributing to Python repos is that usually these repos are packages on pip. So if you're contributing to such a thing, then you can't do pip install that repo, that package name, and then work on that locally and expect those changes to be reflected when you run something, because it's still using the version that it downloaded from online. It's not using your modified version. So to make sure that it uses your modified version, you can do pip install -e, and then the context being the current directory, that is dot. So for me, I have pip and pip3. So I'll do pip3 install -e and dot. So as you can see, it's building from my local directory. It's not building from pip. So the two examples that he mentioned were this, and this should give me the same result ideally. So this gives me my browser history for Firefox, and this too with capital F should give me my browser history. Yeah, it does. So that works fine. So next step would be to add and commit your files back. So you can do git status, and as you can see, you have a file modified in your local directory called cli.py, which I just modified. So you can add it. You can add it either by explicitly giving the file name like so, or you can add it by doing all, which will add all of the files that are that have been modified and not committed. So git add all, and then git next step would be git commit, and all. This is very important because every repo has its own conventions on writing commit messages and formats in which you should write the commit messages. So git commit, and then what I did was changes to code. What I did was a fix and a change to code. So I will add both of them in my commit message. So the way I would do that is I would do git commit -m, and I would give my message, or you could do git commit and then click enter, and it would open a text editor for you. But I prefer to do it this way. No, not doc, my bad. Made browser argument case instance. Damn, I can't type today. Case insensitive. So yeah, and then yeah, that will commit the code, and then you need to run two tests. So you need to run a pylint test and you need to run a py test. So what a pylint test does is it ensures that your code is up to standards of whatever standards that the maintainer has defined for the repo, or the default standard of coding in Python that comes. So it ensures that your code is up to mark in those in with that respect. And what PyTest does is it'll run the tests that have been written in your repo to ensure that your code hasn't broken anything or hasn't broken the build, and all other components work fine. So this repo is exhaustively covered with tests. So it's very important to run these tests before sending your code back. So I'm not sure. Okay, I have Pylint installed. Great. So what I will do is I will go to the file that I modified. So the file that I modified was cli.py. So I will run a linter on that. So pylint cli.py. So since I made very small changes, nothing really got reported, and it said that my code was rated 10 out of 10. But if I just to like give you guys an example about what types of error would occur if there was something missing. So if I didn't do this, if there was no last line or a last new line, if I ran it again, it would say final new line missing. So that's a convention that you need to follow. And if I didn't do this, so let's say my cursor was here itself and not at the end. So if I save it and I do that, so that didn't show an error because, okay, that wasn't an error, that's a warning. So usually what happens is Pylint looks for trailing white spaces also. So if you have something like this over here, if you have this and trailing white space, if I do that, it would show me trailing white space. And that's not a good practice. So you need to remove all of that so that your code is as clean as possible. So all of that is removed. Again, run our test. Okay, 10 on 10. That's great. Next thing is to run the tests that the repo has for each of the components. So I don't think I have PyTest installed. Okay, and what's the command for running the tests? Okay. Oh, sorry. I have no idea what this is. I'll recognize arguments.
You missed a dependency for the tests.
Oh, is it? What is it? Oh, PyTest. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I didn't read the contributing guidelines properly. Read the contributing guidelines properly. Okay, great. Hopefully it should work now. Yep. Okay, everything seems to have passed. Yeah. So tests have passed. That means you're ready to commit your code back now. And if you are following the long version, the way to do that would be to do this first. So git pull rebase upstream master. So the reason that you would do this is, as I said earlier, uh, if by the time you have started making changes to your code, and by the time you're sending it back, if there are some more commits that have been made to the repo, that is, if someone else has sent a PR, or the maintainer has modified the CI testing in some way, or the maintainer has modified the README in some way, or even small changes like that, that will make your local repository out of sync with the original repository or the upstream repository from which you have forked the repo. So the Pesos hyphen browser history is called the upstream repo, and since you have forked from that, and you will be sending it back. You'll be sending code back to that repo again. So you will need to run this just to be on the safe side and make sure everything is in sync. So I don't think I've set my upstream repo at all. Yeah, I need to do this. So here it's mentioned the HTTPS version, but I'll be doing the SSH version of this. So yeah, so this is SSH. If you're using HTTPS, you can just do this and copy this URL. Yeah, so now my upstream is set, hopefully. And then let's try running this command again. Okay, it says the current branch is up to date. That's because there were no commits made by the time I forked this repo and by the time I'm sending it back. So since all of that is done, I now want to push. Uh, I now want to push all of my all of the changes that I made back to the repo that is my fork, not the original repo. So I want to change it since I don't have push access to the original repo. That is, I can't directly put my code in the original repo. I need to push it back to the master branch of my fork. Okay, yeah, it's done. And now let's go back to my fork. Yeah, as it says, this is one commit ahead of master, and then I think I'm ready to send it back to the original one. So I create a pull request. So ensure that it's going from your repository into the upstream repository, that is pesos/browser history or whatever repo that you're contributing to. And you do create pull request. This is the please include, and whatever appears here in this text box, that is basically what the maintainers of the repo have set by default to get information about the PR you are sending. So it will this by generally should give you should be able to give the maintainers relevant information about what you fixed, how you fixed it, and if there are any other dependency fixes. That is, if you change something else because of your change, should anything else be changed or not? So something like that. All of that needs to come here. The description is fixed. Uh, and it fixes issue number um, 20. Yeah, fixes issue number 20. So the reason that you put fixes issue number 20 is GitHub by default, when you merge the pull, when the maintainer merges the pull request, if you have something like fixes hash some issue number, it automatically closes that issue on your repo so that you don't have to go and the maintainer doesn't have to go and manually close that issue, saying that it's been fixed. So please, and then it says what type of change have you made. uh, I have I have done a bug fix and it's non-breaking change, meaning that I have not made any fixes that will cause dependency issues or cause the build to fail in any way. It's a new feature. No, it's not a new feature. So this is irrelevant. So I'll delete this. Breaking change. It's not a breaking change. This change requires a documentation update. It does not. So yeah, I have performed. I have read the contribution guidelines. Uh, sort of, because I made so many mistakes along the way. But yeah, I have performed a self-review on my code. Yes, I have commented my code if applicable. If I have made corresponding changes to the documentation, um, not relevant. No new warnings. Yeah, no new warnings. Any dependent and pending changes have been marked and published. There are no dependent changes. So you can either check this tick box or you can delete the option by itself and preview it. Looks good. And then I will send in my pull request. Yeah, so when you send in a pull request, usually the maintainer of the repo will review your code and provide feedback if they have any. And then almost all repos will have this thing, which is it runs some predefined tests to make sure that your code is up to mark, because you can't enforce these checklists by default, right? So this is just to make sure that all these checks pass when you send in your PR. If you haven't made sure that the items in this checklist have been followed, then these tests might not pass. So it's basically to ensure that your code is up to mark and all the inbuilt tests have passed and are running. And this is on different Python versions, as you can see. So 3.6, 3.7, 3.8. So now all my checks have passed. The PR is ready to be merged, and I just wait for a review from the maintainer if he or she has any feedback to provide. Till I get approval or any feedback, does anyone have any uh, questions or doubts up to this point?
Yeah, Madhav, I had a doubt.
Yeah, hi.
Uh, so regarding, let's say you make a pull request, right?
Hmm.
And then the maintainer suggests changes. Do you drop the pull request, or can you make changes to that?
You can make changes to that itself. So what happens is when the maintainer request changes, you still have your local fork, right? So you again make those changes locally, commit those changes, and send it back to your master. So you do git push origin master, and then when you do that, those commits will appear in your opened PR, the current PR that is open, and then the maintainer can again see those changes that you've made and can approve it or suggest further changes. And again, before you do this, you should again do git pull rebase master to make sure that in between you making the suggested changes and you sending it back, no other commits have been made to the repo. You can do it in the same PR itself.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
I can show the maintainer side if you want to.
Yeah. Let me stop screen share 1 second.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so here I got Madhav's PR and say all checks are passed. You can see there's no error. So now I'll go to the files change tab and see what's changed. There's only one line and it says capitalize. So this will pass the current code, but what if the browser has multiple words? Then in that case it will fail. So like say the browser is something like Chromium Edge, this will capitalize only the first letter. There's a question: how was the pull request merged to a specific issue? He has mentioned the issue in the PR description here. So if you go to this issue, you can see that it says here link to pull request that will close this issue. Or you can link the issue in the commit itself. Either way works. So now I can select some lines here and say leave a comment or start a review. I'll leave a review here saying it will not. Now I can start a review. Say finish and request changes. And here you can see the requested changes along with the code. Now it's up to Madhav to fix it.
Okay. So this is sort of this is actually really good that this happened, because this it helps us convey a very important point. So in almost every issue that is created, every repo will have an issue template, which is set by the maintainers, and every issue template will have a certain set of fields that need to be filled, and anyone can create an issue. It's not just the maintainers who create an issue. So anyone can create an issue and they need to fill this. So it has stuff like, is your feature require, what is your feature related to, describe a solution you'd like, and describe any alternatives that you've considered. So since the issue has this field called describe alternatives you've considered, it's always very highly recommended to read this field, because the person who is creating this issue would have thought of some alternatives that might be beneficial to you. And especially if the maintainer has created the issue, uh, that suggestion is extremely helpful, because no one knows the code base like the maintainers themselves, right? So the suggestion is like, you could do a fuzzy matching, or case insensitive matching seems simple and good enough. So right now I'm just capitalizing, so I can do a insensitive case. I can do a case insensitive matching. You can do a fuzzy matching also, but like, one problem with that is that I have no idea what that means. So I'm just going to go and do like the noob version of this. Uh, yeah. So since yeah, and as you can see, where is the pull request? Yeah. Yeah, so I can see here that Samyak has requested a change, and this is his comment. So what I will do is I will try and fix that issue now. So I can basically loop over the list of available browsers and compare if the passed argument after converting to lowercase is equal to the browser name in lowercase. So what I can do is I can have a variable called selected and assign that to the default one. And then and now I want a way to loop over the available browsers. Now I have no idea how to do that, but luckily, while looking at this file, there is some form of there's some you might get useful clues by looking at just this file. So I would do this by, so over here, what the maintainer has, or the whoever the person who has committed this code has done is, they've maintained a comma separated list of available browsers, and this is the loop over the available browsers. So this is what I need. I can just copy paste that code, because like I'm not smart enough to write it by myself. Um, yeah. Then I can have a check like equals dot. If that is true, then I will assign the selected browser equal to dot name, and I will yeet this to selected browser. So one thing that I should probably take care of, and maybe have a break here. One thing that I probably should take care of is the fact that if the browser is actually, if it's some random name that the user has passed, like browser history -b no you or something like that, then it shouldn't not throw an error. It should go to this except block, and basically it should pass no you to this, and then it should go here and throw an error. Okay, what's this? Inconsistent use of tabs, of course. Crap. Okay. Okay, that seemed to fix it. So let's try it locally and see if that works. And remember, I did that pip-e thing. So any changes that I make locally should be reflected in this. So if I do -b Firefox, this is the default case. This should work without anything going wrong. Okay, it works without anything going wrong. Now, if I do Firefox small, it says browser Firefox unavailable, which means something's going wrong. That should have worked. Mhm. Oh, wait. Yeah, works. So if I give still works. If I give okay, brilliant. So that seems to work fine. Um, Next steps, as usual, is checking. Okay, I'm on master branch. These are my files. Blah blah blah. Add all. Um, here a message. Cool. Okay. Um, Fixed. Uh, Changed code according to review. And then pull from rebase and pull. Yeah, it's up to date, so I don't have to worry about it. And then git push origin master. Oh crap, wait, I didn't run the tests. Silent. Quite a lot of errors. Missing module docstring in init and first party import, cyclic import.
I think those are not because of your code,
Oh, okay.
so you can ignore them for now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that let's just make sure that this passes. Test. Yeah, passes. Great. And then yeah, okay. It's done. It's pushed. And as you can see, I added a new commit. So that's shown here in the same PR. And every time I send in a new commit, a new test is triggered. So the tests will be run again to make sure that my changes currently haven't broken or isn't incorrect in any way. Why did that pilot error come though? Oh, here. Okay. Okay, it seems to have passed. And now again, I wait for maintainers approval / feedback. So I'll stop sharing my screen again so I can show you from his side.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we got a new commit. Let's check the code again. Sure. Looks good. Now at this point, I can either you can resolve this conversation because it's fixed. Then if I want to, I could check out this his branch and see what changes exactly he has made, or even test them. We'll just copy this here. Git merge and rebase are two different things. We'll use merge to basically merge two branches. So you'll have a separate merge commit on top of it. Rebase could even rewrite the whole git log, which means you'll have to force push it sometimes. It's generally not recommended if we are working on the master branch or something like that. If it's your fork, yes, you could rebase. Okay, so now I can pull this branch. Then got his changes here. It looks fine. I can run pylint. There's no warnings in the CLI test. There's not much change. So now I can merge this. Just clicking. Before that, I could say let's go to then merge. So that's it. His changes are now in the master branch. Yeah. I can go back to the master branch and check. Yep, works. Well, that was it for this session. You have any questions now? Okay. Get pull. Pull is basically fetch plus merge. So it will take changes from the remote origin and then merge it with your current branch. Rebase is you can use it locally too. You could say rebase on the master branch that you have locally, or you could rebase, you could pull and then rebase. Or even the pull hyphen rebase does both pull and rebase. Okay. Could you please explain git pull rebase upstream master? Okay. So here if you see, okay, let me share my screen again. Can someone confirm if they can see the contributing guidelines?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. In the guidelines, you're adding the called upstream in your branch. This remote you can get using git remote. So okay, I don't have upstream on mine because I'm working on the additional one. you do show upstream, you'll get pesos/browser history. So that will be our original repository called upstream. Then you can pull from upstream by using git pull upstream master. Here, git pull upstream master will pull from upstream and merge with your local branch. And rebase, instead of merging, it will rebase on it. That is, it will take your commits and apply it to whatever was there on the upstream master. So, did I make it clear or? Okay, cool. Any more questions?
Did you guys like understand, or was it too fast, or did it not make that much sense in some way? Or like, do you have feedback for the next session in terms of what you would want it on?
If there are no more questions, I think we can conclude the session. Yeah, please fill the form.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
fill
all
out.
right. Sorry for interrupting. A quick plug here. Yes, this is the admin speaking. The admin does speak. So we have the form out. Please do fill it out. And we are going to do stuff like this every week. And you also get to choose what we can focus more on if you fill out the form. And also would like to plug channel called Hash Tech Talks on Slack. So whenever there's an online conference or event, we all hop onto that channel and talk about it as it goes on. So if that sounds appealing to you, please do join that as well. And if you got any further questions, if something needs to be clarified over text or something that could not be responded in the time span in the situation over here, do ask us on Hash General on Slack. Many of us can come and address your specific or not so specific issue or help you learn something better. So yeah, thanks all of you for coming. See you next week. And don't forget to fill the form.